Hi, welcome to the CineMunn podcast. I'm your host, Vince Munn, joined again by Ty Metropolis.
Hey there.
And Benjamin Briggs.
Good evening, everybody.
As always, we have a few topics. It is Wednesday, so that means new release Tuesday. Yesterday, Tuesday, all the brand new DVDs and Blu Rays came out. So here's Benjamin with a list of what has come out, what you might want to rent, buy, or add to your current collection. I know there's a couple on here that I want to add.
All right, everybody. So for January 20th, we have Lucy. One of my personal favorites coming up is Fright Night from 1985.
Nice.
The Drop, Annabelle, The Box Trolls 3D, Little House on the Prairie, the 77 through 78, and then a special Caroline Paranormal and Box Trolls collection you can get all in one special Blu-ray. And then for January 27th, we have Fury, The Judge, Downtown Abbey Season 5, The Book of Life 3D, The Usual Suspects,
That's fun.
and Into the Woods, the 1991 version.
Okay,
Really?
cool. Ben, what sticks out to you for a possible purchase?
Well, of course, everybody knows I'm a big fan of Fury.
Yes.
I would really like to see The Judge. You got a lot of good actors and actresses in that film. Fright Night, like I said, it's a classic kind of 80s hokey
Horror
kind of film.
comedy, yeah.
And I really wanted to see Lucy in the movie theater, but maybe that.
Maybe Lucy.
I'm not too sure.
Tom, anything there you're thinking about buying?
I did. You mentioned Annabelle. That was one I did want to catch in theaters.
You didn't see it?
Surprisingly not.
I thought you did.
No, I didn't. I'm saying no right now. Meaning no, I didn't.
You know what? I thought you did.
No,
All right.
I saw Conjuring though.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's
I know.
kind of what led me into wanting to see
Annabelle. Well, that was the whole idea.
Yeah, you're catching on. That's good. Let me see. You mentioned like The Judge. The Judge was also another one. To me, it's a drama. It's not really It's not something that I would be thrilled to go see, but it's kind of one of those movies, like you said, rent or buy. It'd probably be something that I would like to rent, probably not buy and add to my collection. Annabelle would be something more to add to my collection. If you guys don't know, I'm a survival horror kind of guy, so I kind of like those films, Trick or Treat, and what else got, Sinister, all those other crazy stuff. But you also mentioned for the 27th next week, you mentioned, what was the... Nope, not there. Well, Fury,
Yes.
I know that's one that I've been trying to see and just haven't gotten to it. And that one, it's coming out on Blu-ray, so opportunity to pick that up permanently. And I didn't even know they made it Into the Woods, the 91 version. It was the Into the Woods that's out right now is a remake?
Well, not necessarily a remake. Into the Woods is a stage play, first and foremost. So anything they do is either just like an updated version of it, either with effects, with a different cast, obviously a little more relevant to the time, depending on the stars.
Gotcha.
So, Into the Woods is the 91 version I haven't seen, so it might be one worth checking out. Number one probably on that list for me is probably Fury as well. I really loved it. I thought it was great. Portrayal of tank warfare, which is something I never really thought about, and the way they did it, very suspenseful, very nail-biting, action-packed, really, really cool. The Usual Suspects is a film that I've enjoyed over and over again, despite once you see it the first time, you know the ending, and you have to rewatch it again just to see if you can piece it all together from the start. That being said, it's one I do not own in my own collection, which I would love to add to it. You said there was a box set of Coraline, Paranorman, and
Box Trolls.
All from the same company. Could be worth the purchase. Coraline was
That was
very
an interesting one.
different.
Yeah.
I know it kind of comes in the vein of Nightmare Before Christmas and Corpse Bride, but it's a
Right.
little bit darker. It's a little bit darker for kids. So is Paranorman even. I mean, it's a kid who sees ghosts and sees dead people. It's a sixth sense for kids.
And not in that box set is the what is it? It's next week, right? The Book of Life.
Yeah.
You did see that, right?
I did not see the Book of Life. No, I remember that was more done in like the. It's another CG animated film done more like a Spanish, with a Spanish look to it. Had Channing Tatum, Ice-T.
Because when you think Spanish, you think Channing Tatum and Ice-T, of course.
Right.
And Gabriel
Ice-T,
Iglesias.
Gabriel Iglesias, Diego Luna. all voices.
Who,
I believe
was
Zoe Saldana
she
was one of the voice talents.
That surprised me
in
when I saw it at the credits.
Unfortunately, I don't think it did that good in theaters. I mean, I remember hearing about it.
Like it's already releasing on.
It's already releasing onto DVD and Blu Ray. It was just out. I think came out in late October, early November. So it's 3 months. That's pretty quick. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I mean, it can be good because maybe it did so well that they want to get it out there as soon as possible because people are going to buy it. Or it did so bad that they need to find some type of profit, and so they're going to kick it out there so people will buy it. Because they didn't want to spend that amount of money at the theater. You might be willing to spend a little less for home purchase and whatnot, especially, and it is more of a kid's film. It's very bright, very colorful, obviously like Spanish art is. That's what influenced the look of it. So I see that as very beneficial. A lot of good picks on there. I'm excited. Now the hard part is finding the money.
There's also kind of a combination of, like you got your classic 80s, like you mentioned Fright Night, and then you're also talking about like recent movies like Lucy, we had just talked about The Book of Life, and even Fury. And then actually your comment on Fury was the Tank Warfare. Do you ever, I know this is an old one, this is an old release, but still a good movie in my opinion. You ever seen Patton?
Long time ago. Okay. The George C. Scott one?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, long time ago. Yeah, that is Tank Warfare.
That is one I need to check out again.
My views on Patton were slightly skewed after reading Ambrose's Band of Brothers, if you ever read the book, which inspired the HBO miniseries Band of Brothers. Their point of view on Patton really kind of pushed my perspective on him just a little bit. Not to say he's a bad person or anything like that, but just from their version of the Battle of the Bulge to him and such.
The Bulge.
Yeah. Yes, the Bulge. Why?
Got your bulge right here, pal.
Speaking of bulge, what other topics do we have tonight, Benjamin?
So, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while,
I'm sorry.
It'll take a second for that.
Just one.
If you've been listening for a while, we know we've mentioned Southpaw with Jake Gyllenhaal. We now have an official release date for July 31st of 2015, so keep your eyes out for that. Also, another thing which looks pretty interesting is The Revenant with Leonardo DiCaprio. Got a 19th century trapper who was attacked by a bear, and the guy was robbed, of all things. Now it's all about revenge. And you got to admit, if you got beaten up by a bear, then your best friend's mugged you might want to take a little bit of vengeance out of him.
Are we sure the bear didn't mug him?
You never know.
Couldn't, taken the wallet, traded it for some she-bears, and,
might have.
had some cubs.
It's good.
I mean, they did release a first official photo, and he just looks crazy. He's got that crazy wild man beard, long hair. Again, he looks like a dirtier version of his Calvin Candy character from Django Unchained. He looks a little bit. That's kind of the first thought that came to my head again. Is he's going back to that period look that he had in Django Unchained, but a different type of darker version of it. A man who's probably lost his edge and such, and has a one mindset. And it's DiCaprios, so it's going to be a compelling performance. It'll probably hold you, grip you. He's just grown as an actor so much through these last few years, and every time he does a show, and you don't see him nominated for anything, like Wolf of Wall Street, like Django, like The Aviator. I mean, it's just this guy has done remarkable things. He broke through that teen idol phase and really became a respected actor, which I think is awesome. So I'm excited for this one. I want to see what it looks like to be mugged by a bear.
One thing that also might captivate audiences too is that it's going to be shot by Emmanuel Lubezki, who, if anybody's seen the recent Gravity movie, the same guy who did that.
Same cinematographer.
They mentioned on the shot though that it's unfortunate for some of the crew because he loves to use natural light, so they can only get maybe a handful of hours at a time.
Oh man, that's hard.
Wow.
But it's going to look really beautiful, I think.
Now,
have you ever seen that in a film?
Which one?
Any film where they use natural light?
Probably a few.
Did you ever see Terrence Malick's The New World?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yes, he did that whole. He shot that whole movie with natural light.
Oh,
and it's like a 3-hour, the longest 3-hour Pocahontas epic you ever saw. That's basically what it is. It's John Smith coming to America, meets Pocahontas, this and that. But he shot the whole movie natural light, and it's long as hell, and you get a little tired. So I fell asleep at one point. I'm sorry, but it looks beautiful. It looks absolutely beautiful, and so now telling me that actually makes me more excited to see this movie.
That's really a good selling point. That
it is
a beautiful movie, but I fell asleep in it.
Well, that was me. Some people did. Some people might not have.
So you have Leonardo DiCaprio on screen as a wild man. You have the beautiful lighting, and you're going to fall asleep to that.
I didn't say I was going to fall asleep to that. I said I fell asleep in the New World because it was so friggin' long, but it looked beautiful.
So,
the benefits of natural light.
That's true. The benefits.
In the forest, though. In the city, in the forest.
It's got to be specific.
They also have a couple of nice co-stars as well, of course. They have Tom Hardy. We even have William Porter, who was in the Chronicles of Narnia, Where the Millers, and The Maze Runner.
Nice.
Even, I'm going to butcher this name, but please correct me.
Okay.
Domhnall?
Domhnall Gleeson.
God bless you. Was in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, About Time, and Frank. So,
and he's also in the upcoming Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
Oh, there you
Playing? Go. We don't know. So.
That is anticlimactic.
That's the idea, actually.
All right.
He's a very good actor. He's very good talent to watch. He also did a small indie film with his dad, The Cavalry, with his father Brendan Gleeson. Which if you've seen Braveheart, Gangs in New York, you know Brendan Gleeson, big imposing Irish dude, really cool guy, really great actor, has great screen presence. So
absolutely.
It's funny that you mentioned Tom Hardy because on our last show we did mention Tom Hardy being in. I'm sorry, in Suicide Squad.
Right.
And he has dropped out of the role of Rick Flag. Now, reports were flying afterwards that Jake Gyllenhaal was in talks to replace him. Today, Variety reports that that is untrue. Gyllenhaal has passed on the role, thus leaving the character position of Rick Flag for Suicide Squad open for grabs. Up for grabs.
And with because they're planning to shoot relatively soon.
Yes,
here,
they are.
so
They are going to go into production, I think, before the summer starts.
I kind of feel like, I mean, just my look at it. I mean, there are already a couple stars tied into it, but you have two stars. I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal. You have Tom Hardy. That already kind of. I mean, Jake didn't really drop from the role, but he
passed on the
for
role.
it.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like now there's two stars with names that said no to this role. Do you really think they're?
I don't think
probably pick up a third one and just say, "Hey, screw it, I'll just do this."
I think, as with most things like this, like with Tom Hardy dropping out, it's a scheduling issue. I think that's what it is. I think especially for Gyllenhaal, probably being in post-production on Southpaw and whatever other work he's got coming up, it might just be too tight for him to squeeze it in there, squeeze it up. Because you know that Suicide Squad is not going to be a one-shot film. It could potentially be, but you know Warner Brothers and DC are thinking much bigger than that. They're not thinking anymore of a one-shot film. They're thinking franchise. They're thinking if you do this film, you're going to sign on for at least 3 or 4.
Right.
And we want you back on their contract, like Marvel does with all their actors.
Yeah, but it's the other thing, too. Marvel, they can get the actors to say, hey, I want to do Marvel and I want to be on the franchise. As whereas, you know, DC, there's only a few. I mean, Suicide Squad, it is the first of its kind, kind of like with the villains coming together and all that.
Yeah.
But DC hasn't really proven themselves in the ways where it's like you sign up for this franchise, you're going to get what you want. So these actors, they could be just jumping into it saying, hey, I kind of, you know, like, yeah, they like the characters, things like that. That's why they'll do it. But at the same time, like you said, scheduling conflicts, things like that. And probably they were getting hesitant was like, well, how much is this franchise going to go on, or how many films you're talking about? So you're talking about like contract.
Well, even part of it is like
there.
if when they sign a contract for a film, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to make the film. What it does mean is that if they do make another film, they are obligated to be in it. That's more what the contract means. The contract does not mean you're going to be in Suicide Squad and Suicide Squad 2 and Suicide Squad 3. It means you're going to be in this film. If it works and we do another one, you have to be in that one too. That's what the contract. That's more what the contract means. Like another example, this is an unfortunate example, is Hugo Weaving playing the Red Skull for the Captain America series. He was signed for, I believe, 2 or 3 films. He did the first film. Obviously, they didn't use the character for Winter Soldier because it became a present time film. But if they ever go back to that period, that time period, and they want to have the Red Skull, he was contractually obligated to be in it. Now, he has since vetoed the contract. I think he got out of it through Marvel. Obviously, this is before Marvel became the big conglomerate that it is now. But at the time, he was obligated to be in a sequel had they put his character into it again. So, I mean, that's really how the contract works. It's not so much we're going to make this film and the sequel to it and the sequel to that one. It's if we do it and your character is relevant to this because we want them in there, you are then obligated to be in that role for us.
Well, contract can be a good and bad thing. Because,
contract can be a good and bad thing.
Because, I mean, you look at Indiana Jones, Crystal Skull. The three of them had to agree on making that film. And
well, that was more of a personal choice. Like, obviously, we all decided together to do this podcast.
Right.
It's more like that. That's in using the Indiana Jones example. Ford, Spielberg, and Lucas all said, unless they all agreed on the film, they were not going to do it.
They
all agreed.
Agree. Yeah.
They all agreed, and that's why we got Crystal Skull. And I'm sure they're sorry about that too.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of. Well, I mean, some movies you get, some movies you don't.
Speaking of Suicide Squad, I'm sorry. There is right now a rumor. It's a pestering rumor that has no validity to it whatsoever, but I like it. Is that by the end of that film, we will have Ben Affleck's Batman in there.
Because of Batman.
Because he's Batman. No, because it'd be friggin' awesome. That's why. If it is true, I'm excited. I cannot wait to see Ben Affleck on screen as Batman. I think he's physically the best resemblance of Batman from page to screen. Physically, he's tall, he's big, he's broad. He's got the superhero chin. He's got that. Superhero chin. Think about it. Anytime you see a superhero drawn, they've got that really big kind of square jaw.
Only
Batman. No, Superman has one too.
So DC.
No, anyone. Captain America.
Wonder Woman.
It's kind of pointy on her, but it's very Reese Witherspoon. Comes to a point. I'm kidding. But no, if it is true, it'd be awesome. Again, because he just looks awesome as Batman. From what we can just see, he doesn't have to be in the costume yet. The one shot we have of him standing next to Batmobile, he looks like Batman came alive from the script, from the page. And if he is in there, supposedly they're going to say that ties in with the Joker. It might be a first meeting with the Joker. It might be reconnecting an old wound from a previous issue with him, and lead off into a solo Batman film involving Jared Leto's Joker role. So if that's true, awesome. If not, that's okay too. I'm still excited for Batman vs. Superman when we get to see him in his full glory, going toe-to-toe with Henry Cavill's Clark Kent. So, any thoughts on if Batman will jump into Suicide Squad? Does it matter to you?
No, I mean, it'd be nice. I mean, never hurts to see a familiar face, but,
That's true.
With or without the bat, I think it'll still be a great story to see. Hopefully a success.
I think if it is true, this is just one final thought, if it is true, I think they're going to heavily market that point to sell Suicide Squad to a mass audience. Because, again, like Guardians of the Galaxy was not very familiar property, Suicide Squad is also not a familiar property to people. And we're going to go in there with a little bit of hesitancy. But if you say, by the end of this movie, you're going to see Batman on screen go against the Joker, and then lead into a new Batman film, you're going to want to see it just for that setup.
That's true. Yeah,
it's a selling point.
True. The other thing too, just what kind of concerns me about doing the whole Batman Joker setup. And again, this is a rumor. This is just a speculation. But your Suicide Squad. We're talking about Rick Flag, Deadshot. We're talking about Joker, Harley Quinn. We're talking about
Captain Boomerang and
Captain
Boomerang, yeah, played by Jai Courtney, is playing Captain Boomerang, who's one of the cheesiest characters you ever saw in a comic book because he literally throws boomerangs. They're razor sharp, they're like bombs, but yeah, he throws boomerangs.
Must be from my neck.
I was gonna say it kind of comes from your area, man. Very down under character.
What was the total count of villains we got?
I believe it's 6 villains.
6 villains. So, I mean, trying to introduce, because I think really the general audience is only going to be familiar with 2 of those villains.
I don't even think that. I think if they watch Arrow, they might be familiar with a little more of them.
But again, that's a different universe. That's
a different universe. But it's also, again, one of the issues with, not issues, one of the benefits of Suicide Squad is the cast itself. If they still had Tom Hardy, obviously that's a draw. They have Will Smith. That's a draw. You have Jared Leto off his Oscar win from last year. That's a draw. You have Margot Robbie off of Wolf of Wall Street, who was shockingly beautiful and did very good work in that film as well. That's a draw. So you have plenty of draws. You have David Ayer coming off of Fury. That's a draw. Those names are what's going to draw people to see this movie.
If you say draw one more time, I'm going to fire a gun into the air.
I feel like pulling out a pencil and paper and drawing.
I All right.
Might you want them?
Because I was going to say, I mean, you know, the DC doing the Suicide Squad with 6 villains. I mean, obviously Joker's... The thing is, Joker, you look at the original, was it 1989 Batman? And then you look at the Dark Knight.
Yeah, Dark Knight.
And you can tell Joker has 2 different kind of backstories, and that's...
Well, Joker has no backstory.
Joker has no backstory, which is going to make Suicide Squad... Well, all the other villains in Suicide Squad kind of have a backstory, except Joker,
they all
right?
kind of will.
So,
but Joker, I mean, really, Joker doesn't need a backstory because you simply accept him for what he is.
True, but okay, well, I guess going with stories, backstories, all that. They're introducing 6 characters, first time on screen. One of them been on screen before, but they're rebooting the characters, so kind of like.
Well, they're rebooting it now into a new image,
but.
And again, severing... That's going to be the hardest part, I think, with having Joker in a film, is everyone's still clinging to Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, you're going to draw comparisons to that. Regardless, whether you want to or not, you're going to draw comparisons to it. And it is an unfair thing, but that's life. That's
like when we were discussing the Amazing Spider-Man versus the regular Spider-Man. They reboot. I felt the Amazing Spider-Man was rebooted way too fast. The image of
Tobey Maguire's
Peter Parker
still very fresh.
Is still you're still kind of looking for that goofy, like awkward, somewhat semi-cocky kind of teen person, and just Amazing Spider-Man didn't really do that. But going into the Amazing Spider-Man, though, Amazing Spider-Man had 3 villains. 3 villains. And it was overwhelming.
But none of them were really leads. I mean, they were portrayed as villains. They are to be our, with Suicide Squad, they're to be our guides through this film and into the new DC universe on film. They're part of that guide role, like Henry Cavill was for Superman in Man of Steel. He's your guide into this. He's going to help you buy into this world. And it's a very different role they're taking on, as opposed to just being the bad guys. They're going to be your main, in some way, maybe even your main protagonist. To a degree.
Well,
I hope to a degree. I don't want them to be the good guys. We've been over this before on another show, like Maleficent. I don't want them to see them be good guys. They're bad guys. Let's keep them as bad guys. That's that. Benjamin, what else we got on the docket for the night?
Well, the last thing we have here is finally the Deadpool release date is going to be February 12th, 2016. And more good news.
Yes.
It is going to tie into the X-Men universe.
Ooh,
fancy.
Okay.
But here's another thing I thought about, too. It's going to tie into the Marvel... Well, obviously it's going to tie into Marvel as a whole, but I think it's going to tie into everything now. We know that the Infinity Stone is... that we have one of the Tesseract.
Oh, no, it's
not going to be in that.
It's not going to do that.
No, but he does have one. He's got an Infinity Stone.
But in the books, but not in the
books, yes, but
the cinematic universe
because the character of Deadpool and the mutants are all owned by Fox, they are not going to blend the Marvel Studios films with the Fox Studios Marvel pictures.
Yeah, same thing with Silver Surfer.
That's why we can't get the Fantastic Four into the Avengers, and we can't have the X-Men with the Avengers. And I'm sorry.
What kind of an attitude is that?
It's an honest one.
Hey,
it's called an honest
never gonna happen.
Yeah, kind of like that. As far as I know, it's never gonna happen. Jesus. I'm sorry. But yes, they are.
Well, then it's going to tie into the X-Men.
It's going to tie into the X-Men universe.
Right.
Now, the fun one will be which universe?
Well, the X-Men universe.
Well, no, because with Days of Future Past, they kind of realigned their timeline because they'd screwed up so much with all their other films.
Okay, now, why did they realign the timeline?
Because they were even self-aware that the continuity they gave was not proper. In the first X-Men film, Professor Xavier states that when he was 17, he met another mutant who had the ability to bend metal.
Okay.
Basically saying that's when he met Magneto. But if you watch X-Men First Class, they met in like their mid-20s. And obviously Magneto was an older character. He had to be. He's always been the older, I think, of the two. And then when you look at stuff like X-Men Origins Wolverine, you have Xavier in there walking but bald. And then if you look at X-Men The Last Stand, he's also walking, and he and Magneto are still friends. It jumps back and forth way too much.
It does.
So with the whole Days of Future Past, what the entire purpose of that film really was, aside from being great entertainment, because it was, is to realign the stars for their universe.
Which timeline, because my
The
thing
now
is...
new timeline, I think that they are starting
So
up
they're trying to fix the First Class universe.
Yes.
Okay. Because
to me,
there's 3 X-Men timelines, right?
There's now going to be only one X-Men timeline.
Now there's only one.
Now there's going to be only one. The only one is the one that exists from the end of Days of Future Past forward. That is the X-Men timeline.
Honestly, I kind of feel like this was... how many X-Men films do we have, including the Wolverine? Was it like 6 or 7?
We have about
X-Men
6. I believe we have 6. We have X-Men, X2, X-Men The Last Stand, X-Men Origins Wolverine, The Wolverine, and Days of Future Past. We have 6 movies.
This is why I'd rather have Marvel the rights, but Fox is getting their act together.
Fox is doing great with X-Men right now. Which I think,
right now.
Yes. Right now. They've learned from their mistakes. The burned hand teaches best. And they're doing it right now. And obviously they're going forward with production on X-Men Age of Apocalypse. So it's going to piggyback right on Days of Future Past and continue that storyline. First Class was set in the 60s. Days of Future Past was set in the 70s. Now X-Men Age of Apocalypse was set in the 80s. And they're just building and building and keeping the train going.
In addition, just to the Fox movies, because they also have Fantastic Four. And Fantastic Four, they are rebooting. Do you feel like the X-Men... I mean, the X-Men formula, it works for them, but for trying to apply that formula to Fantastic Four, saying, hey, we're going to make a kind of serious reboot of the Fantastic Four, do you think that might work for them? Or do you think that the Fantastic Four is still going to be that kind of goofy...
No, I think well, if you've seen Chronicle, directed by Josh Trank, that was not a goofy film. It was very serious, very, at times, emotional, especially dealing with Dane DeHaan's character and his character arc that he takes in the film. So I believe he's applying that to his Fantastic Four reboot. Now, I know they have talked about, because Fox owns both Fantastic Four and X-Men, they want to tie them together, but I think we are still years away from that. I think they're going to wait and see how Fantastic Four does first, how people respond to it. Because obviously there was a lukewarm to negative response on the first initial films from 2005 and 2007. It just went downhill. So people are very tainted by the title of Fantastic Four. And with some of the recent reports coming out of the studio, that the studio's unhappy with the film right now, and that it just seems like a mess. And you have some people like writer Mark...
Are you talking about the reboot?
I'm talking about the reboot right now, yes.
They're on...
The studio is not happy with it right now. But you have certain people coming to its defense, like writer Mark Millar has been defending it as a film, saying it's not what people are saying. It is actually a good film. What Trank is doing with it is wonderful and stuff like that. So I really don't know who to believe right now. My own personal experience says I don't want this film.
It's going to be based on experience, and my thing too. You can hear any writer, any actor come out, and the other thing too. That's this might sound a little dirty, but. Any actor, director can be, paid under the table by their producers or sponsors, whatever like that, and they can make such claims, and it can misdirect, it can mislead people. So, in addition to rumors and stuff like that, again, rumors is one of those things that you just caught like the wind of someone just trying to say something impressive or just to catch your attention. And like I was saying earlier, it's going to be the experience. What you're actually going to see on the screen is going to be the final say. My thing is, though, I have heard somewhat rumors about, like you said, they're kind of like up in the air about the film. I did hear about it was reshoots, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and...
every film goes through reshoots. Some of them are made more public, like Avengers. Just this month, they went back in for, I think, a week or two of reshoots. Mm-hmm. So every film goes through reshoots, whether they're public about it or not. Pretty much every movie goes back and fixes or tweaks something because they had a better idea, because editing showed them something that stands out more, or that doesn't stand out, that they want to take back, that they want to redo. Every film goes through reshoots, so reshoots don't scare me. What scares you is when you hear that a film is going over schedule and over budget, and people are dropping out of it too much. That's when you need to feel a little wary about a movie. If you hear reshoots, it's common. It's very common, so it's not a big issue.
Well, the other thing too, just it's kind of expected with Fantastic Four being that they did greenlight the project just shy of Marvel
just to make
retaining the rights back.
They just barely made their rights to be able to retain the rights.
And even, I know me and you have had many discussions on this. When it first was greenlit, was the casting.
Yeah.
You definitely have a fascination with the Fantastic Four and saying how, like, Mr. Fantastic Fox Reed is one of the three smartest men in the Marvel Universe and things like that. So there is kind of a specific vibe when you talk about these characters and things like that. And again, when Fox announced their casting, they did come out shortly after saying that the movie has no intention of coinciding with the comics. It's going to include the characters, but everything's supposed to be just kind of on its own.
Well, we'll find out next month, because they are planning on reportedly releasing the first trailer with the new film Kingsman: Secret Service. Was supposedly, because it is a Fox production.
Wait.
It was supposed rumored right now that the first trailer for the rebooted Fantastic Four will be attached to that movie.
Okay.
So we'll all get our first look once Kingsman comes out in a couple weeks. So
basically, go Deadpool is what I'm hearing from the
yes,
yeah.
From everything here. I'm sorry, I know we got off topic a little bit with Fantastic Four, but yes, go Deadpool.
That's all we really want.
Deadpool's one of the biggest risks right now as far as the film, because he is a breaking the fourth wall character who will talk to the audience, which is a big risk, I think.
Yeah,
but I think that makes it fun.
Appealing to the kids, but
appealing to the kids, but also to the adult in you that likes dirty words and innuendos.
But the other thing too is that even young adults these days, I mean, you got like ages 22 to like probably 36 that are still, kind of attending the Marvel movies and things like that. So it's kind of like that generation is also grown into just standing by these films and stories and catching them as they. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's relevant to if you grew up reading comic books and such, or watching the cartoons like I did. It means a lot more to you, and you enjoy seeing these characters come to life on film in a very different way that you don't have from reading the book, that you don't have from watching the show. It just makes it all that more believable. I think at least to me it does. That's my perspective.
Gotcha.
Well, before we go, we'd like to bring back our movie quote of the day. Tonight, Tommy has picked out a quote from a film from the mid to late 90s, comedy.
I'm going to specify
very funny.
a year
no,
on that
let's
one,
not
or?
specify a year
Okay.
on this one.
It is
if
kind
you
of
know
recent.
it, you know it, and hopefully you get a chuckle out of it. I know I did. Again, if you do know the film, please leave it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And let us know what you think of our show, our movie quote of the day. We'd love to bring it back if people would start playing a little more. So, Tommy, whenever you're ready.
Sure thing. Well, they last forever because they're silk. They'll always be in bloom. They'll never die. They'll never change. They'll never say you're not good looking.
And that has been our movie quote of the day. That has been our podcast for the night. I am Vince Munn, again joined with Benjamin Briggs.
Woo!
And Ty Metropolis.
Ooh, yeah.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.